like he said, my name is Alyssa Archer, and my husband Ben and I, we have the privilege of pastoring SOZO. And if this is your first time, I want to personally welcome you and let you know that you are already family. And for those of you watching online, I just want to say hello, and we hope that you can make it in person one of these Wednesdays. But guys, I am so pumped that you are here today. Ben and I's heart is that every time you walk through those doors, that you experience God's unconditional love. So I want you guys, every time you're here, to be expecting. Lean into the message. Get all in on worship, because God has something for you every single time that you come. Amen? Amen. And so he has something for you tonight. So before I go any further, I just want to highlight somebody in the room tonight, Miss Penny Tucci, who's in the back. She didn't know I was going to do this, but she is a friend and a mentor in my life, and so she is coming to visit. So I'm so excited that you're here, Penny. Love Penny. If you don't have a mentor in your life, make sure that you get somebody who's gone before you, because it is so, so vital that you have that. So I'm going to be wrapping up our series, Kingdom Builders. Last week, Ben talked on tithing. And if you guys missed that message, make sure that you check it out. It's on YouTube. It's on our podcast. It was amazing. It was in depth. And it gave me more insight on what tithing is. But today I'm going to be talking to you guys about generosity. Generosity. And so as you hear that word, I don't want you to tune me out. I don't want you to instantly just say, I don't want to listen to this. It's about money. I don't want you to think that you can't be generous in this season of life. Because let me tell you that our purpose is not a destination, it's a journey. But every season of your life, God has called you to make an impact. And you make that impact through your generosity. But generosity is much more than our money. It can be our money. That's a very big part of it. But generosity is anything that we have in our possession. It's anything that we have that we can give away. So it can be your time, your talent, your ability, and your gifts. And so I don't know what you guys have to give, but I want you to know today that you have a gift that the world needs. You have an ability that is the answer to somebody's problem. You have something in your reservoir that people in this world need. And so when I'm talking about generosity, that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your money. I'm talking about your resources. I'm talking about your time, your abilities, and your gifts. It is all encompassed in generosity. And so I don't want you to limit it to just money. But I want you to expand your horizons today. And I want you to realize that as you're sitting in this room, that you have a gift that the world needs. And if you're sitting there thinking, Alyssa, if you only knew, I don't have anything, I don't have a gift, and blah, blah, blah. Well, stop that, because that's a lie. And I want you to just push that out of your mind, because the Bible tells me that right now in this room, every single one of you has a gift. God has already deposited something on the inside of you. So while I'm speaking, don't let the devil come in your ear and try to tell you that you're too young to be generous, that your $5 isn't enough, that you bringing the podium on stage is meaningless, because everything means something to God. All of it is enough, and nothing plus Jesus equals more than enough. So whatever you bring to the table, don't discredit it, don't limit it, but know today that with Jesus, it is more than enough. And so the title of my message is, I have a gift. Say, I have a gift. Say it again. Say, I have a gift. Say it louder. Say, I have a gift. There we go. So I'm going to be reading out of 1 Peter 4, 10 through 11. And it says this: God has given each of you, not some of you, not just the people on this side of the room, not people who are 20 and older, but God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. Do you have the gift of speaking? Then speak as though God himself were speaking through you. Do you have the gift of helping others? Do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. Then everything you do will bring glory to God through Jesus Christ. All glory and power to him forever and ever. Could you bow your heads and pray with me? Father God, I thank you for every single person in this room today. Lord, I pray that they hear you. God, I just ask that you speak to each one of their hearts, that their eyes are open to what you have blessed them with. I thank you for them, and I just speak blessings over them. In Jesus' name, amen, amen. So I think most of you know that Ben and I, we have 2 children. Our oldest, her name is Mila, or Mila Catalina, as we like to call her. Mila, she's 3 years old. And then we have a son. His name is Eli, and he's 8 months old. And so we love our kids, and as a parent, it is so fun to see their personality unfold. And so as Mila's getting older, I'm learning more and more about her. She's sweet, she's kind, and she's empathetic. But one thing that she is that she is giving. Not with her brother, of course, but, with everybody else. She is very giving. And so one thing that she likes to give out is her snacks. If you ever see her eating something and you ask, can I have your goldfish or whatever, 95% of the time, she will give it to you. And so she's like that with Ben and I, but she's a little bit more aggressive with us. And so a couple times a week this will happen, where I'm sitting with her and she's eating her crackers or whatever it is, and she says, Mommy, these in the bowl, they're mine, but this one, and she pulls one out, this one's yours. And she puts it up to my mouth and she says, eat it. And it's mushy, and her fingers have, baby goo on it. I don't even know. And so I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm thinking, that's gross. And so I just tell her, thank you, but I want you to eat it. And then she gets a little bit more aggressive, and she puts it up to my lips, and she says, no, you eat it. I'm like, wow. And so it just gets a little bit more feisty. And then finally I push her hand away and I'm like, no, seriously, this is yours. And then finally she will shove it in my mouth if she can, because she wants me to have it. Because she thinks, well, this snack makes me happy, so it's going to make her happy too. And so in that moment, the thing that Mila has, the resource that she has, is her snack. It's the thing that she can give away because she has it in her possession. And so my first point for you guys today is, I have a gift. I have a gift. And just like Mila in that moment, she has something. It's in her possession. It's a resource of hers. And she tries to give it to me. And while it might be something that I don't want, or that people might see as insignificant, it is a gift. And so you can define a gift as anything that makes someone else's life better or more convenient. A gift is anything that makes someone else's life better or more convenient. It doesn't have to be this grand, elaborate thing. It doesn't have to be hundreds or thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to be this well-developed gift that you can do on a platform or that makes you TikTok famous. It can be anything, no matter how small it may seem. It is a gift. And so when we go back to our scripture, it says that God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. So don't put God in a box. Don't think that gifts are just singing and preaching and things that people notice, but it is the things that people don't notice. It could be you saying hi to the boy in your hallway that constantly looks down at the ground when he walks and everybody makes fun of him. It could be you have way too many clothes and you decide to give them away to the girl that wears the same couple outfits every single week. It could be you serving on the greeting team here at church. It could be you scrubbing toilets. It could be you moving the podium or putting the chairs back. Giving a gift is anything that you have in your possession that you can give. You can all walk and you can talk and you can move things, and so therefore you have something to offer. But I know that you all have more than that. I know that God has put different gifts on the inside of you. And so maybe you don't know what those gifts are yet. That's okay. You guys are in the stage where you're still developing, discovering, and cultivating your gifts. But I'm going to tell you that you don't just sit around and wait for them to fall on your lap, but you go out and you look for them. You try things. Figure out what you're passionate about. Figure out and try a different hobby, but God has put different things on the inside of you to make an impact. So first, you have a gift. Second point, I have to use my gift. In 1 Peter, it says, use them well, referring to your gifts, to serve one another. Don't use them sparingly. Don't use them sometimes. Don't put them in the closet for you to forget about, but use them well. Most people have so much potential on the inside of them, and they go through their entire lives not using what God has given them. And so their life ends with them not fulfilling their purpose that God has put them here on this earth. And I don't know about you, but when I get to heaven, I want to make sure that I completed every assignment that He's given me. And I want to make sure I'm taking people to heaven with me. So I don't want to be on this earth not using what God has given me, not skating by, not just trying to fit in with people, but I want to do everything that God has called me to. And that requires using what God has blessed you with. So don't let fear or doubt or lies that people have spoken over you stop you. People will tell you that you're young or that you're inexperienced or that you don't have enough whatever. But guys, the same God lives on the inside of you that lives on Pastor John or whoever else. It's the same Holy Spirit. You don't have a junior Holy Spirit. It is the same one. You have been called to make an impact. And so don't wait 5 years, 10 years before you decide, I'm going to do something with my life. Because at one point, now you're saying you're too young, but at some point, you're going to think, I'm too old. And while that's not even a thought right now, but as you start to grow and you get older, that will become a thought. So the time is now. The time to make an impact is today. It is not tomorrow. It is not to wait, but it is today. And the awesome thing is that whenever we use our gift for God's glory, He does something amazing with it. So something that I think that I am good at, hopefully, I'm not just saying this and this isn't true, but something that I think I'm good at is I'm very encouraging naturally. I like to send people texts to let them know I'm thinking about them or tell people how awesome I think they are or what I see in them. And so something that is very easy for me is God gives me things in my quiet time with Him, and it's so easy for me to just post it. Something encouraging, something to let people know how much God loves them. And so I'll do that a couple times a month. And while it's easy for me to do, while it might seem insignificant, while some people might just swipe on my story and just keep going, I can't tell you how many times I've had people DM me, text me, or message me and say, you don't know how much that meant to me. I felt like you were speaking to me. I really needed to hear that today. And while that's always a good response, what that does in that moment is it opens the door for me to point them to Jesus, to point them to the one who is the Savior, point them to the one who can heal them, who can free them, who can restore them. Because who am I? I'm nothing, but He is everything. And so the third point is my gift is not about me. And so after you realize you have a gift, and you start to use it, you have to choose to decide to not use your gift to point back to you, but to point back to the one who created you. Point back to the one who blessed you with those gifts in the first place. Point people to the one who can actually save them. Because that is what this life is all about. Our gifts are there to bring Him glory. We were blessed with these gifts so that we can be a blessing to other people. And so when you begin to realize that what you have in your possession is the answer to somebody's problem, You don't hold back. You go all in, and you realize that I can make an impact, that what I have can determine somebody's eternity, that I can be a part of somebody going from darkness into the kingdom of light. I can be a part of that. And so instead of you holding on to your gifts, you begin to give them out, and you use them to serve one another. And so instantly, that boy in the hallway that you said hi to, that's always looking down at the ground, when you said hi to him and you talked to him a little bit, he went from deciding he was going to commit suicide to not committing suicide. That girl that you gave your clothes to, she struggles with her self-worth. And so on that day, her confidence got boosted because God used you and worked through you. And so we don't always know the impact that we're making, but we have to trust God with the result. And so my fourth and last point is I have the gift of generosity. I have the gift of generosity. When you got Jesus in your life, you got generous too. Because he is the most generous being that you will ever come in contact with. He gave the ultimate gift, which was his son. And then he gave us everything else if that wasn't enough. He is the most giving. He is the most giving person. He's not a person. He's the most giving thing out there. And so because he lives on the inside of you, that means that you are generous too. It is now a part of your DNA. You don't have a choice. It is just who you are. It is in your heart now because you have the Holy Spirit on the inside of you. And he calls you to be generous. Not because he cares about stuff, because he has all the money, all the resources, all of the abilities, but he cares about the people that are affected on the other side of your giving, on the other side of your generosity. He cares about people's eternity. He cares about people not being sick anymore. He cares about people being free. That is what he cares about, and our generosity is what helps get people there. But life is going to try to squash the generosity out of you. Maybe you're thinking about giving to Kingdom Builders, or just one week you're thinking about giving more money whenever tithing happens, and you think, I'm just going to hold on to that extra $5 because, it doesn't make a difference to anybody else, but it'll help me out. Or you think, I'm not going to try out for the worship team. They don't need me. I don't have anything to offer. And so it stops you from being generous when in fact the world needs what you have. And to not be generous is not God's best. And so I'm going to run through a couple scriptures very quickly. They're not going to be on the screen, so just listen. But I want you to understand that what happens when you're generous is that you are blessed abundantly. Luke 6:38 says this, "Give and it will be given to you." Promise. A good measure, not stingy, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Proverbs 19:17, "Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done." Another promise. Proverbs 22:9, "The generous will themselves be blessed." Another promise. "For they shared their food with the poor." And so some of you in here are the most generous people, but you continually tell yourselves, I don't have enough to give. And so the little bit that God has given you, you hold on to. But I want you to know that the Bible says that those who are faithful with little will be entrusted with much. And so the person who's writing a check for $500,000 like it's nothing, I can guarantee that when he had $100 in his bank account, he was giving to God. That person that you see on the platform who is preaching to millions, thousands, I can guarantee that he was faithful in that season when nobody noticed him, when he was cleaning toilets or putting bulletins on seats. He was faithful with little. And so in order for you to go to that next level of your blessing, you need to start being faithful with what God has given you. You need to start where you're at. Because God is not going to pour out on those of us who hold on to what he's given us. Because the whole point of generosity is to see life change. And so he's going to begin to move through those of us who just are pouring out to other people and giving. And he's just going to know that I can trust her. I can count on him. That what I give him, he's going to bless other people with. And so when you see that person not eating lunch for the third time that week, are you going to give your lunch up or your lunch money? Or when you see that girl walking out of the bathroom and you can tell she was just crying, are you going to go up and ask her if she was okay? God is looking for those of us that he can work through because he cares about all people. He sees all people and he works through you and I. And so the only way that people can meet him, can interact with him, is if we decide to move on his behalf. And so if we sit still and do nothing, then people don't get the opportunity to come into contact with Jesus. People don't get to see his goodness, his generosity, and his love. And so he's calling us to be generous today. So if the worship team could come out. So after I graduated college, I had the most terrible job in the entire world. And I'll have to tell you stories about that next time. But I only worked there for 4 months, and then I quit because it was just awful. And so when I quit, I quickly realized how hard it was going to be to get a job in my field because I had 4 months of experience, which wasn't enough. And so while I was looking for a job, I decided that I was going to use that time of unemployment and give my time and serve as much as I could. And so I started at home because I was still living with my parents. And I cooked dinner for them. I made sure the house was clean because they both worked. I ran errands for them. And then I decided to serve more here at church. I was already serving in the young adult ministry, but I decided to start serving at Victory Group, which is our ministry that helps those in addiction and their families. And so one week while I was serving at Victory Group, I was in this group and I heard this woman talking. And she was telling the group how her husband, who was an alcoholic, how she was leaving him. Because not only was he an alcoholic, but he was abusive. And they had 4 children together, 2 of whom had serious medical conditions and needed a lot of care. And so she had left him, had the kids with her, but she was struggling. The divorce was taking a toll on her. Financially, it was too much, and she couldn't take it all. And while I was listening to her story, I felt compassion and my heart broke for her. But I felt God say, you need to help her. And I was like, okay, God, she needs a lawyer and she needs money, both of which I do not have. And so I told God, you need to find somebody else. And so I heard it again, you need to help her. And so I argued with God, because that makes sense. And so he continued to just bring that up on my heart. And when the group let out, I did the creepy thing, and I followed her to the bathroom because I didn't know what else to do. And I just had to tell her. And so after she was done going to the bathroom, awkward. Try to not do that. I just told her. I just told her what I felt God was putting on my heart. And so I was like, hey, I can watch your kids for free. I can clean your house. I can cook for you. Like what do you need? I will help you. And her eyes just welled up with tears because she just was so overwhelmed. And over time, I eventually started to watch her kids. And while I was there, I would clean and I would cook and I did whatever I could to help her. And after a couple times of doing that, she came back home and she said, you know what? There's this agency called Voice. They help women who are survivors of domestic violence. And I really think that you would be awesome at working there. And so she told me about the jobs that were open, both of which I was not qualified for, by the way. And she's like, I'm going to email the director and just send your resume in. And so I did, but I was kind of reluctant because I'm like, I'm not qualified. I did not have what I needed to get either of those jobs. But I was hoping for the one job That was the one job I really wanted. And so finally, I get a call from the director, and he invites me in for an interview. And lo and behold, I get the job that I wasn't qualified for. And I ended up, give it up. God's awesome. It's not because I'm awesome, it's because God's awesome. And so I ended up working there for 5 or 6 years, and I loved that job. And the only reason why I left is because I felt like God was calling me out. But I want you to see that our God is a generous God. And when you give what you have, he will give you what you don't deserve. And he will replace what you've given with more. Because he's that good. He is Jehovah Jireh. That means he's our provider. He has all the money. He has all the ability. He has all of the talent. He has everything that you could ever need. And he wants to give it to you. But he wants to know today, are you going to use what I've already given you? Are you going to be faithful with the money that I've entrusted you with the talent that I've given you, with the call that I've placed on your life? What are you going to do with it? And so I want to give you guys 3 action steps of what you can do. The first one is after service. If you want to bless the church that we're in, start serving. Go to the starting point booth after service. Get connected. Start serving if you aren't already. Second thing, high school campus experience. I think Mariah said today that we've had 47 salvations alone just through high school campus experiences. That's amazing. And if there's not one of those on your campus, maybe God is nudging you today that you're going to start that. So if that's something you feel in your heart, talk to Mariah after service. And another way is the kingdom builders. If there's been a certain amount placed on your heart, just follow through and trust God. He will give you more than what you've given because he doesn't care about money. He cares about your heart, and he wants to bless you. But before we go back into worship, I want everybody to bow their heads. I just always think it's so good that to acknowledge what God is doing in people's hearts today. And I know that God is stirring up people's hearts to do more, to give more. And I don't know what that is for each of you, whether that's your time, your talent, your money, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But I know that God is calling a lot of you in here today to take a next step and to say, God, I want to give you more of whatever it is that you've given me. And so this isn't a salvation call. This is you acknowledging what God is doing in your heart and just saying, God, I'm deciding today to give you more. And so if that's you and you're just acknowledging that in your heart, I just want you to raise your hand. Nobody's looking around, but you're just saying, God, I want to give you more. I want to do more. I want to be faithful with the little that you've given me. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Hands are going up everywhere. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And that's just you and God. That's between you and God. And I just wanted you to do that so that you can say, you stepped out in faith and said, I'm going to do this for you, God. But I'm just going to pray a general blessing over everybody, and we're going to go back into worship. Father God, I just thank you for every single person in this room. God, I thank you for what you've given them, for the talent, the abilities, and the gifts. God, I thank you that they are so blessed. And for those that are wanting to take that next step with you and to give what they have, God, I just pray that you just point out to them what they can be generous with. And Lord, I thank you for their hearts. And God, I just speak blessings over each and every single one of them today. In Jesus' name, amen.